Hey, it's James Robbins here. And you know, the other day I was driving down the road and this van goes zipping by me and it was covered with all this text and writing, almost like it was an encyclopedia. So, a little bit curious, I speed up to catch up to it, and at the red light I finally get up beside it and I'm able to take this picture. Now check this out. This is a van, obviously it's a company van advertising their company and what they do, but take a look at what they offer. On the back it says they do painting, siding, they will clean out your gutters and your drains, they also do power washing, they'll help you move, they'll store your stuff when you're moving, they do full house cleaning, they'll even do insulation work with blown insulation. They do janitorial work, demolition, so they'll tear your house down if you need it, flooring, they'll rebuild your floor, they'll build your deck, they'll renovate, you know, if you're building a new bedroom or something. They do drywall, they do gardening, rubbish removal, roofing, and then on the side of the van there was even more things. So this is interesting. I mean, there are many different ways to run a business. The challenge with trying to run a business like this, I mean, first of all, it takes a very talented person that's going to be able to do a lot of those things. But the problem is, you're never really going to grow your business that large. In essence, you've hired yourself a job. If you really want to experience exponential growth, though, in whatever business you're in, then you want to narrow your focus and concentrate it and make it powerful. And I want to talk about this today. It's about carving out your niche. It's about creating a niche market. You know, we are living in an age of customization like we never have before. I mean, 30 years ago, if you wanted a coffee, it was black or cream and sugar, and that was it. Maybe some Coffee Mate. Now you can go into Starbucks and have this customized order. And we're more and more used to having very specialized services that really meet our needs. And remember from the last video that I did called Creating Your Customer Avatar, we learned that really when we're selling to a customer, we're trying to match their needs with our message and our products. Well, if we start focusing on too many needs, what happens is our message gets diluted and so does our business. Now, the challenge for a lot of small businesses, especially in a down economy or in a recession, is our sales go lower and then we think, well, I gotta make more sales. And one of the first places we look is out there and we think, well, how can I pick up more business? What new markets can I get into? Where else can I, market my stuff? And it seems like the right move to expand, but often it's not. In fact, most times it's not. The answer lies in actually narrowing our focus even more and carving out our niche. I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, I want to tell you about a friend of mine named Jeff. He's a wedding DJ. Now, the whole world of being a wedding DJ, pretty competitive place. You're competing for these brides to try and, sell them your DJ services. And so what Jeff did was, let's say this is the entire pool of the weddings at any given time that he's competing for to get this business. Well, what Jeff decided to do was instead of competing for 100% of the business, he was going to narrow his target market and create a niche that was probably about 20% of the market. The other 80%, he just pushed it aside. Now this would seem crazy. It seems counterintuitive that you're going to get rid of 80% of your potential market to focus on this small little piece of the pie. Well, what happened to Jeff? Well, his advertising expenses went down 75% and his revenues ended up going up 300%. I'll say that again. His costs went down, advertising 75%, and his revenues increased 300%. Why? Because he carved out a niche for himself. So when you think about your business and your product and your service or whatever it is you offer, sometimes we end up getting too broad and too wide, and from time to time we got to narrow it back and figure, what niche am I focused on? So let me give you some ideas on how you can narrow any kind of market into a niche. Well, number one, you can narrow your niche by industry. So for example, let's say you're a website company and you build websites for people and businesses. Well, that's a lot of people to build websites for, and you're competing with everyone. But if you shift and now you just create websites for chiropractors, all of a sudden everything changes. You've cut out a majority of the market, but you've probably become a very big fish in a small pond. So you can narrow your niche by industry. Or let's say you're a janitor. You can try and get janitorial jobs everywhere, or you can create a janitorial service for banks alone. So again, that's an example of narrowing your niche by industry. Or maybe you're a video production company, and instead of trying to create videos for anyone and everyone, you decide to target the not-for-profit sector, and that's who you do work for. So we can narrow our niche by industry. Secondly, we can narrow our niche by demographic. And basically this is by focusing on a particular age group or a particular place in life, people who just had a baby or people who just retired, or even by gender. So for example, you might decide that you teach computer skills, but you're going to teach them to seniors. Or maybe you're a mortgage broker and your specialty is mortgage brokers for women. So we can narrow our target market by demographics alone as well. Thirdly, we can narrow our niche by location. So you might be in the North Shore in Vancouver and you're a party rental store. Well, instead of trying to be a Vancouver party rental location or a store outlet, you would be a North Shore party store. And by doing so, every venue that's on the North Shore, what they look like, and you can give great advice, and you become the expert at parties in the North Shore. Or maybe you're in the Okanagan and it's the West Bank that you're focused on. So you can focus your niche by location. Fourthly, you can narrow a niche by unique skills that you might have. So maybe you spent some time in Japan and now you're over here running a landscaping company, and so you decide to narrow in, and your thing is Japanese garden. It's what you do because you have some special knowledge or skill from your past or from who's on your staff, and so you're able to target that niche because of a special skill you have. And then lastly, sometimes we can narrow our niche by specialty groups. So maybe you have, for example, you run a daycare, and your daycare is for people with twins or triplets. Or maybe you sell school supplies, but to families who homeschool their children. So again, that's an idea of narrowing our niche to specialty groups. Now, why would we do that? Why would we narrow our niche? Why would we cut out large parts of the market to focus on a few? Well, I'll tell you why. Number one, it separates us from the competition in a really major way. Let's say you run a laundromat and you want to hire a janitorial service to come in and clean the laundromat once a week. Well, there's a van that's driving by every once in a while, and you notice just below gardening it says janitorial services. Or another company comes by and they say, look, all we do is run a janitorial service for dry cleaners and for laundromats. And who now stands out to you more? It's the one that's most specific. So we can separate ourselves from our competition. Secondly, it helps us create a laser focus in our marketing and our advertising. This saves money and helps us get our message across. Thirdly, it increases our credibility. Now, instead of being one among many, we become one of the experts who focus on this one thing. Hey, all you do is create websites for chiropractors and, okay, maybe massage therapists, and you have this proven track record. You know the industry. That's what you do. Raises your credibility. Fourthly, increases your referrals. Because people, when they find something that really meets their needs, they'll often have friends with the same needs. So let's say you run the daycare that just is for people with twins and triplets. Well, the thing is, parents of twins and triplets often know other people with twins and triplets. They just kind of find each other, in life. And when they tell them, oh, we found this great daycare, it's only for people with twins and triplets, the other couple is like, no way. And they start to really believe that I've got to check that out because that must really specifically be for our situation. So referrals become automatic. And then lastly, number 5, you're able to actually charge more for your services. You're able to charge more, higher prices because people perceive that the value is greater. And now, in fact, it's not so much about price anymore. They are seeing you as meeting their need, and what's that worth to them? And that's, when people are willing to pay more. So we want to carve out our niche. And again, this is counterintuitive because we think, this is going to sink my business, when actually it's not that at all. So I got a couple things for you to do right now, a couple exercises that will help you examine maybe some niches that you're missing. Right below the video here, there's a handout. It's called the Niche Funnel. And I want you to print that out, and I want you to take your business through that, and it's going to help you run through those 5 areas we talked about. Narrowing by industry or demographic or by location or by a unique skill that you possess or a specialty group. So print that out and think through that and see if you can come up with 2 or 3 different niches that you might be missing on that you could go after. Secondly, you know my friend Jeff, I told you, who's the wedding DJ? Well, I recently interviewed him on the phone and recorded it with his permission, and I've got that interview for you in case you want to hear his story on how he cut out 80% of his market and increased his revenue by 300%, okay? So you can download that interview right below me here. So download the worksheet, download the interview and listen to that, and leave me a comment below the video.